Welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell. Today we're going to be talking about basic probability and ways of expressing probability. Let's get started. Let's review quickly. How do we calculate probability? Well, we calculate probability by looking at the ratio of favorable outcomes to total outcomes in a given situation. In ratio form, the probability of an event, you'll remember, is the probability of an event is equal to the number of favorable outcomes compared to the number of total outcomes. Keep in mind, again, as you go through this concept, that all the outcomes we're talking about are considered to be fair. So that means like when you flip a coin, the outcomes of heads or tails are equally likely, and so on and so forth. Okay, probability simulations are done using simple objects such as coins, cards, and spinners to represent items in a problem. Girls and boys could be modeled using heads and tails of a coin. Months of a year could be modeled by 12 different cards from a deck of cards. So probabilities are expressed in three ways: as a fraction, as a percent, and as a decimal. And it's a good idea to review how to change between these forms because different problems work better with a different certain form of probability. Let's talk about converting percents to fractions. So converting percentages to fraction is really super easy. The word percent, if you'll remember, simply means per 100. So for example, 55%, it simply means 55 for every 100, or 55 per 100. And the fraction can be simplified then down to 11 over 20. Now, if you have a decimal as part of the percent, there is going to be one more step. And if you would like, you can pause your video and write this example down. You just need to move the decimal over and add a 0 to the 100. If you have a fraction as part of your percent, think of it as a complex fraction and divide. Again, if you want to pause your video and write this example down, it might be helpful. So if you have 33 1/3%, you would put 33 1/3 over 100, which would then be the same as 100 over 3 over 100, which would then be 100 over 3 divided by 100 over 1. And then that would equal, we would multiply by the reciprocal, so we have 100 over 3 times 1 over 100 equals 1/3. When we're converting a percent to a decimal, that's really easy too. You just move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. So we have 67% equals 0.67. 0.2 would be 0.002, and so on and so forth. If there's a fraction in your percent, here's an example of how to make that change. If you have 1/5%, then it would be 0.2%. Now 0.2% equals 0.002. If you are converting a decimal to a fraction, we can follow the 3R method, 3R's method. The three R's are read, write, obviously the R's after the W, and then reduce. So you read the decimal, here we have as 35 hundredths, write it as a fraction like this, 35 over 100, and then reduce the fraction if possible. And we can, 35 over 100 reduces to 7 over 20. When we're converting a decimal to a percent, you just move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right. And there's an example there if you'd like to see it. 2.3 equals 230%. 0.97, 97%, and so on and so forth. And then to convert a fraction to a decimal, you divide the denominator into the numerator. So if your numerator's 3, denominator's 4, you have 3 divided by 4 gives you 0.75. That one's pretty simple. And then a fraction to a percent, you just convert it to an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. And then take the numerator as your percent value. So in other words, make a proportion. Let the percent equal P. Let's take a look. 3 over 8 equals P over 100. 3, when we cross multiply, 3 times 100 equals 8P. 300 equals 8P. Divide both sides by 8, and we get P equals 37.5. So the percent equivalent is 37.5. That just about does it for this lesson. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.